Welcome to Board Ghost, a story broadcast with games as the engine.
If living is a highway, then heaven is a bus stop. Been waiting for a minute there, or has it been forever? 'Cause dying don't agree with me, no. Dying don't agree with me, no. All you board ghosts, come with me, we're going home.
We believe you're out there, hungry for stories for shared experiences. We can't see you, can't hear you, yet we will play for you. This night's offering is a continuation of our Fiasco Touring Rock Band 2010 playset from the Fiasco 2010 Volume 1 Anthology of Playsets. We left off in a pretty interesting and crazy place. Our grid right now, we have a couple tilts in the mix. Guilt, betrayed by friends. Paranoia, a sudden reversal of status, fortune, or sympathy. We've got two needs in the mix. Someone would like to get fucked to win a bet, and someone needs to get out, or some of us need to get out of our responsibility permanently. We also got a location in play, the tour bus bathroom, and wherever the hell we are today, which happens to be an elementary school. I think we said, did I say Dennistown or something at elementary? It's where we are. All right, before we get into who my character is, I'm John Holt, one of your players today. With me is
Stacey Douglas Moverly,
Josh Mueller, and Roland Auer.
So my character is Miss Lorna Saltine. She is a music teacher at this elementary school who is a huge fan and insane stalker of Hans Grobtok, the leader of the Uncle Krampus children's metal rock band, Norwegian metal band.
A little German, a little Swedish.
And she has been chided by the principal, and the show is about to go on. She's got the kids in play there. She got her photo that she made of her and Hans signed, sort of. And she is sort of excited that her new best friend, Nikki Roberts, the manager of the band, was able to help her get this gang here and going. What's up with Nikki?
Nikki has been given coffee by her offstage session musician, kind of the guy who's in charge of her roadies, Gunter. And her coffee's been laced with LSD, so she's currently on a fairly bad trip at the moment. She's sitting in the tour bus. She is trying to hold it together. Luckily, she has done some of this in the past, so it's not a new experience for her, but she's still having a very hard time with it. Last time we left her, in the tour bus, Hans was leaving the tour bus to head off to the performance, and Gunter was locked in the bathroom.
Yes, he was. He came to see what was going on and saw that his nefarious plan to take Nikki out of the equation was seemingly working well, and he was excited to get Hans on stage and get things going. He's trying to bring about the end of the band so that he and his secretly good friend Hans can start a real death metal band, an adult death metal band. Gunther is the offstage session musician / roadie manager. He's not on stage, but he thinks himself to be the mastermind of this band's future and success, specifically with his friend Hans. But he is now trapped in a bathroom on a tour bus, and we'll have to wait and see how he gets out of that.
All right. And Hans, what's your sitch?
Hans is braving the noonday sun on his way to play children's metal to a group of kids while he's high out of his mind on K2, and feels that this will be the final straw, the thing that will allow him to break his contract with Nikki Roberts and pursue his real dream of being a legit metal musician in the United States, the great United States of America.
All right, so we'll get rolling into our story. All right, this is Act 2. So I'll set the scene for myself here. Flashback. It's a sign similar to our initial open. We're on Barrisburg Elementary School. There's a tour bus in front that says Forever Time Shining Metal. And it's like flying V, like bunch of like smiling guys, like it looks like the Stones but with like pastel colors and flowers. And a young Lorna Saltine is stepping off of the tour bus in tears. You hear laughter inside the bus as her hair's in disarray and her clothes are disheveled, and she has a photo of her and one of the band members, like that you saw his face on the bus, in macaroni, and it's like her picture in there combined with it. And her friend comes up to her and says, "Lorna, what happened? What's going on?" She's like, "They just wanted to take advantage of me. I love their music so much. That's all they wanted to do. But I'll get them. I'll turn this around." And she throws the photo on the ground and storms back on the bus. And what how is this going to go for Lorna Saltine?
I think it's going to go well.
Yeah.
All right. So well is cut to night. Tour bus is still out front, and Lorna steps off of it, covered in blood. Huge smile on her face. I love children's rock music. And she picks the photo up off the ground, takes the picture out of the frame, but keeps the frame.
Somebody's been underestimated.
Yes. Okay. This should get interesting. All right. Well, Nikki is on the bus. She's definitely right in the middle of a very heavy LSD trip. She has grasped that Gunter has left that Gunter is locked in the bathroom, and she's trying to decide whether or not she wants to. I think at this point in time, she realizes Gunter probably spiked her coffee, so she doesn't know if she wants to let him out or not. She keeps playing around with that, but she's also heavily tripping, so she feels like this would not be a good idea. I don't know, is she hearing pounding coming from the door? Okay, so at this point in time, because she's worried that he'll break down the door, she's decided that she needs to get away from him until she can get her faculties together. So she stumbles off the tour bus and heads towards the auditorium, figuring that that'll probably be the safest place for her to be if she can stay kind of towards the back and not get too involved.
What does Nikki see when she steps off the bus and that noonday sun that almost took Hans out by surprise?
It's blinding. Everything is just like, it seems like these heat waves coming off of the asphalt and everything else is making everything seem incredibly wavy. And she's having a very hard time holding herself together and having a very hard time just even walking forward. So she's moving at a sub-snail's pace. Anyone seeing her would realize she's got something seriously wrong going on. So she's like hunched over, almost crawling across the asphalt, heading towards the auditorium.
Okay.
Is this going to go well for her, or?
I believe in Nikki. I think she's the one good person
have
right
it together?
now. Yeah.
All right. So it goes well for you. What does that mean in your drug?
It means that I actually am able to get across the asphalt, and I'm able to get within the shade of the roof of the auditorium. And so I'm kind of standing now outside the door, holding myself together, figuring as soon as I hear the music go on, I'll try and see if I'm together enough to actually enter.
All right.
But at least I'm in the shade.
All right. Gunter, trapped in the bathroom. Gunter is like a really skinny, emaciated, not strong person. And he's pounding on the door, and it is not going to work. He can't kick this door down. He just doesn't have the strength. And the only idea he can come up with is to climb out through the toilet. And so he sets apart trying to dismantle the toilet in the tour bus bathroom to crawl, hopefully, out through some sort of exhaust door on the tour bus.
This can't go well for him.
Because he can't let his good friend Hans get up on stage in his current condition, because yes, it could get Hans out of the contract very well, but it could ruin Hans' reputation so that he could never be a rock star with Gunther.
So is that going to go well for his character?
How do you feel?
I feel like no. Like, even if he makes it out of there, it's going to take a while and it's going to be a horrible experience.
It is a horrible experience.
Yes. So I'm going to say no.
No, okay.
All right.
It's hard to say whether
Is
either
it-
outcome could possibly be good.
Well, I think it is good because he does get out, but it's bad because he is literally covered in shit from whatever these guys have been eating on the road for the last couple of days.
Okay.
Now he's making his way across the asphalt, covered and smelling of just...
Oh.
And the heat just bakes it on you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Not a happy man right now.
All right. Hans, what's going on?
Hans has successfully made it onto the stage. The crowd of children is confused because he looks different than the videos they've seen. He looks very disheveled, and as I mentioned earlier, he has blacked out his eyes completely, and he looks very just dirty and disheveled, and his hands are bleeding, and his guitar is a mess. And to him, everyone has a Krampus head at this point in his approximation of reality. All the little children are little crampi, and the adults are just larger crampi, and the band, the backing band is also. And so he brings them in close, and he says, "All right, boys, long intro, like at Six Flags, long intro, but longest intro." And he turns up his amp all the way, and he says, "Make it loud." And then one of them is like, "But there's," and before he can say children, he goes, "Turn it up all the way." So they just break into this horrible drone of just feedback and noise, and the children immediately react and are crying and holding their ears, and the faculty is looking at each other in disbelief. They don't know exactly what to do, and they look at each other, and they look at the children, and then they look at Lorna Saltine.
And she only has eyes for Hans. She is like swaying to the music, which is not the music that's being played. And she's just smiling huge. How's this going to go for Hans?
I think it goes positive. I think he's like
All right, Hans, what does that mean, going positive?
positive in his mind, in his drugged out mind right now.
He feels that if these really are his little crampi, they'll be able to take it. They are little demon-headed children. They are ready for any sort of sonic assault that they can dish out. So he turns it up a notch even, and sends a microphone stand just out into the audience.
So he's now abusing the audience.
All right. So Lorna Saltine is watching this music, and the music in her head it's definitely the shiny metal band music that's playing in her head. It's not Uncle Krampus anymore. And she's just kind of swaying, holding her photo, and the principal comes up to her and says, you need to turn this off. You need to get this off the stage. And in a daze, she kind of comes out of it and is like, well, no, they have to play their set. They have to play their music. The children are loving it. And she looks out, like, she doesn't recognize the fact that, like, most of the kids are holding their ears, a lot of crying. Teachers are starting to, like, move kids out of the auditorium. There's a little bit of a panic where the mic stand has just, like, crashed in. But she's totally blind to that. She's like, they're loving it. They love this music. They love this show.
Are kids maybe like texting their parents now? And pretty soon we're going to have
Yeah,
convergence
exactly.
of concerned
Save me.
parents.
Someone's going to pull a fire alarm. So she's like, no, this is great. Everything is perfect. So what's going to happen for Lorna? What's the principal going to do?
It's
Or
going to be negative.
I think
Right?
the principal's really going to realize that Lorna is not going to do anything.
Yeah.
And may have to try to intercede.
all right. So bad.
Bad.
Okay. So bad for her is he pushes her out of the way, from the soundboard, and flips the switch, and the sound just drops. He's pulled the power on the soundboard, and that's it. There's no, just like you're just hearing bare strings, and it actually is probably just as loud you singing because you're just screaming at this point. You threw the microphone along with the mic, so you're still like you're still yelling. But she jumps up and starts attacking the principal, just scratching at him.
All right. Well, Nikki hears the music start, realizes this is not quite right, and then the music cuts, and it's like, wait a minute. So even though she's still really having a hard time holding it together, she opens the door to the auditorium and heads in to see these, like, everyone trying to leave the auditorium. All these kids are coming out. She's seeing Hans, who's just screaming at the top of his lungs. There's no sound coming from the soundboard, and Lorna is basically just like on top of the principal, like scratching and so she's close enough to that. She kind of pulls herself together and grabs Lorna and tries to pull her off the principal.
All right. So she pulls her off successfully, and Lorna recognizes a friend and calms down a little bit.
Lorna, what's going on? What happened?
I don't know. For some reason, they just wanted to stop the show, like mid-show, and he turned the sound off. It's totally. I mean, they were doing amazing. We should turn the sound back on.
So I immediately turned to the principal. We have a contract. We are supposed to be playing a full set. How dare you go ahead and pull the sound off this thing on my musicians? And while I'm doing that, Lorna takes the opportunity to actually head back over to the soundboard.
All right. And yes, she turns it all back on.
So I'm screaming right now at the principal, but I'm still tripping. Does this go well or badly for
You're the
me?
best rock manager ever.
Is it going to go well then?
I think so.
All right.
Nikki's got her eye on
So
the
what
prize.
does that mean for what does that mean for Nikki that goes well?
She's able to get the principal is so flustered by the whole situation because he thought he was getting rescued by Nikki, but now he's getting screamed at by Nikki. So he's like, I gotta go. So he's basically figured he's gonna retreat and call the police, but he's not gonna do it in front of everybody because he's afraid he'll get attacked again. So he retreats and like, you know, as more and more students and everybody keeps leaving the auditorium, he's basically left to call the police. But now Nikki's just kind of standing there and she's holding on to like a chair or something that's nearby, and then realizing that maybe this wasn't the best idea to turn the sound back on because she's gotten a glimpse at Hans, and now Hans is now starting to look even more wacky to her than she's ever imagined.
All right.
Gunter.
So the camera pulls back from the backstage, faces the audience, and then flies straight up the middle aisle of the auditorium to where two doors fly open. And you see this skinny little man covered in shit, yelling things in Swedish. Gluten garden. And he starts running down the aisle, but he slips because he's covered in shit. And he just goes flying in the air because he's a little guy. And he lands in a pile of children who just, I mean, come on.
Start screaming like,
And
what the
retching.
hell? What French hell is this?
And he's struggling to stand up because he keeps slipping and his arms are flailing and hitting all the other children. And some of the children start throwing up on each other because the smell is that atrocious. And so now it's shit and vomit and I'm sorry, I'm turning your show.
No.
So like
This is-
PG-13 maybe.
We'll get our explicit tag and earn it this time.
And that's kind of what's going on. It's a disgusting vomitorium at this point in the auditorium.
I think there's only really one way it can go for him.
It's going to go badly.
Yeah. And it becomes a comedy of every foot he gets, he slips and he falls and he hits more kids, and he barely makes it to the stage where he's got his two hands on the front of the stage and he's looking up at Hans.
Hans is very pleased right now. The electricity has come back on. The band is afraid to stop because he has the whole time that the kind of in an off camera has just been telling them that he would kill them if they stopped, and they believe him at this point. And so when the music comes back on, he takes it as a sign that everything is going exactly as it should, and he sees Gunther and says, "Gunther, you're here! I underestimated you, Gunther. You were on board with this plan." And
Hans, you must stop.
And just continues the sonic assault, just cracking the whip on the band, making them play louder and faster, lyrics becoming more and more unintelligible, now starting to become like laden with curses that are in a language that luckily the children can't understand, and just continues to plow away at the music and tries to find Nikki so he can make some sort of eye contact with her in the crowd and give her a smile.
He definitely, he sees Nikki in the audience and gives her a smile. And at that point, she loses it because she can't hold it together anymore. And she just collapses in a little heap and just starts rocking back and forth.
So this last die can be wild. It can go well, or even though it's black, it'll be black for your roll, but we can have it be a good or bad outcome for Hans here. What do you guys want?
Oh, I think it's going to be a fantastic.
Yes.
Good outcome for Hans. What does that mean?
Well, I think he feels confident at this point that his contractual obligation is over, and now it's just about making the children happy. So he looks around to see, and to his eyes, it seems like everyone's having a great time. So he just kicks into the next song, which is called Scissor Rainbow, and just
cuts it up
with the Scissor Rainbow.
Just goes powering in. All right. So now we go to the aftermath. Everyone rolls their die and then sort of adds or subtracts rather, their high from their low.
Oh, wow. Look at
that. We'll kind of go around. I'll start with my outcome first, and then... So mine is a 2 black, right? Yeah. So on the aftermath table, black 2 brutal. Wounds that will never heal for starters, stuff sawed off, blown off, or burned off on your way to a grand ignominious failure. Kiss whatever you care about goodbye. You may die, but you may not. All right. And Nikki, what is your total? You actually did pretty good, right? You have...
I have 11.
More?
I had a black...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I had more whites.
So look on the white high table at 11.
At 11. Not too shabby. You made it out with dignity intact through some fluke. There might even be a little profit or self-respect or something. Time to throw a little party for all your friends. Which at this point in time, I don't think I have any left.
I don't know. I think people will realize you're the manager who kept it together. I got a 0, by the way. I rolled a 9 and a -9.
Oh, jeez.
So I've effectively earned the worst thing in the universe. This probably doesn't include death, since death would be way better than whatever this is. Be creative. Don't settle for the worst thing that comes to mind. There's something darker, more awful, and more wretched in there somewhere.
Had a dark 9 and a light 6, so that leaves me at black 3, which is harsh. Shit in a bag harsh. A lifetime of medication harsh. A big black cloud of hurt is going to rain all over you. The things you need to happen are not going to happen. Simple as that.
All right. So now what we do is we play the aftermath, the montage scene. So each one of your die, we'll each tell like a very short little like snippet scene, and it could be like a piece of a larger scene. It could be a flash forward, a flash back. It could be like sort of like pieces of the aftermath, like when the cops come, or however you want to play it. And you can also kind of use these die, like you could have good things happening or not terrible things happening with your white die, and bad things happening with your black die, but all towards serving the aftermath that you just read out for yourself. So for instance, I'll start with Lorna. She's in front of the disciplinary board of the school. The principal is there as sort of a witness against her. The union rep is there to like ostensibly defend her, and superintendent and a few other like board members are there. And there's some footage being played that another teacher had taken of the concert that shows her like sort of instigating this thing that shows like a kid in a wheelchair being trampled, who she was in charge of like managing, and she's really enjoying the music that's playing, but everyone's just glaring at her.
Nikki is basically there in the process of repainting the tour bus. Even though she was the manager, she was also very smart to make sure she held on to, like, she actually owns all the equipment. And so she has heard of another kids band that's supposed to be in the next town over that she thought she might check out and see about managing. So she's in the process now of getting the tour bus cleaned up and heading to the next town.
Gunter, passed out from the smell of himself, has awoken in a jail cell where he is in one corner and there are about 12 other people are in the farthest corner away from him. And he realizes the only phone number he has is Nikki's.
Hans, his plan is by and large in his mind worked. His contract was easily broken after this last incident, and because of the nature of his departure from children's music and how many people were able to film it, it went viral, and the metal community, being an accepting group, have started to take him on as with open arms, and he's become kind of a minor celebrity, flash in the pan celebrity, but a celebrity all the same.
All right. So Lorna breaks her parole and goes to see Hans play a solo act the state over. So she's hopping in her car. She's cut her ankle bracelet, her that keeps tabs on her, and she's driving her brother-in-law's car that she borrowed without his permission to go see Hans play.
Nikki is in the next town over. She's got an appointment to check out this band, but she realizes that Hans is going to be playing that evening in another place and is going to be playing like more adult stuff. So she thought she would go check it out, but it might not go the way that she's hoping.
Gunther calls Nikki, the only number he had, and desperate for bail, has to give up his share of the publishing rights to Uncle Krampus, where Nikki might see there's some historical value in the back catalog there. And we'll say, he gives up all that money, but he gets out of jail. We'll say that's a win, getting out of jail. But he's also, I think, going to converge on this performance that everyone seems to be heading to.
Hans, this is his first performance since the performance at the elementary school that caused his viral rise to fame on the internets, and he sees that it's sold out. It is being boycotted by church groups and parents groups alike. PTA, there's a strong presence against him by most of the town associations and boards. The bus is thoroughly egged and bricks are thrown at it as it drives through the gates of the venue. But he tries not to let it, bother him, because he knows that, he fulfilled his mission and he is finally starting to start his career, even though he doesn't know where Gunter is, and he's very concerned that, he has befallen a hard time, but he is having trouble contacting him or finding him. And when he takes the stage, he begins his first song, and he looks across the audience, and he realizes that everyone is laughing and that there is no real fame or any notoriety to be had, that he is just being ridiculed from minute one, and that many people there have cosplayed into his outfit that he was wearing with the blacked out eyes, and are screaming to hear songs, Uncle Krampus songs, because they're not interested in his material or him at all. They just want to see him do the same thing he did at the elementary school. And he realizes in that moment that he didn't get anything. He didn't accomplish anything with his mission, and it was actually a horrendous failure.
So Lorna's at the show and loves every minute of it, and actually is able to kind of chat you up backstage and says, hey, why don't you come back to my car with me? We can, hang out. And trying to, playing on, you're vulnerable right now. So she's playing on that. And you come back to her car. It's sitting pretty low, and it smells like she spilled gasoline when she was filling it. And I don't know, maybe she lives near a town where they have industrial fertilizer or something. But her car smells very strongly.
Nikki's at the venue. She knows it's Lorna and Hans heading towards Lorna's car, and she flags them down, greets them both, and basically tells Hans, look, I realize that you didn't get out of this what you want, but Gunther sold over his rights to the Uncle Krampus. I'm willing to buy your rights so you could actually do your own album, so people could take you seriously. This is your chance to actually turn this around. Are you willing to sell me the Uncle Krampus rights?
Yes, I have nothing to lose by getting rid of that garbage.
So she goes ahead and is able to make a very good deal with Hans, has him sign a contract, says you two kids have fun, realizing that she has a huge amount of money that's going to come in because Uncle Krampus has just gone through the charts, and she's the one who's going to make a ton of money off of this. And then she leaves them, heading back towards the car.
Gunther has just made it out of the police station after getting his bail cleared out. And he falls to the ground, and he starts kind of going into shock. What we didn't know is Gunther is allergic to peanuts. And somehow, somebody must have eaten something with peanuts on the tour bus in the last week, and he's ingested it. And he's basically about to die. Obviously, the police come running outside. Somebody's called the ambulance, and he's just... We're losing Gunther. We're losing him because of the nut and the shit climbing out of the toilet. Can it get any worse than that? We'll find out.
So, Hans takes Lorna's offer up as he is distraught and trying to get his mind off his the negative career moves that he's just made, especially realizing they should never have sold his back catalog. But hey, he thinks, whatever, I'll get my mind off it with Lorna. So he goes into the car with her and, begins to try to put the moves on her. But then, that's not what she wants. She wants to talk about music. And, she has a new picture frame with macaroni. The photo in it is the same one that he threw up on, but she's made a new frame and says, that's, she wants to give this whole thing a real chance again and not have it turn out like it turned out last time. And of course Hans is just trying to get his rocks off. He wants what any red-blooded Swedish metal
German
rock god
wants. And Lorna's not having it, and there's a moment where Lorna says, hang on a minute, I need to just get something out of my purse. And Hans thinks that's going to be a condom, so he lays back in the seat and waits for Lorna's next move.
Lorna hears sirens coming up. She knows she's found out that they've caught up with her. And she thinks, this is like every rock person that she appreciates and understands wants one thing, and that's it. And why can't they just be the pure good musicians and share their music with her and share themselves and their music like they should? It's just never going to work right. And she takes the lighter from the electric lighter thing, this little cigarette lighter in this Chevy, and pushes it in and lets the coil heat up and reaches into her purse for a cigarette. And as she lights it, the gasoline fumes and the industrial fertilizer that she had picked up on her way to the venue goes up, and there's an explosion that just blows out the back of the club, and her and Hans along with it. And as the police car pulls up, this flaming picture frame whistles through the air and lands bouncing off the hood, and it's a picture of Hans and Lorna, like crudely not even photoshopped, just like cut out and pasted together in a macaroni frame that's still burning.
Nikki had gotten to her car, and when the explosion happens, she's knocked against her car, but is okay. She turns around, realizes where the explosions come from, decides she doesn't want to get involved, gets into her car, and drives off.
Gunther is lying in a hospital bed, dying, and he thinks of his good friend Hans and says, well, if I can't make it, maybe Hans can. And he takes together all of these songs that he wrote, which were actually the best metal songs ever written in the history of metal, that would have clearly made Hans and Gunther superstars. And he mails them to Hans, unbeknownst of what's happened to Hans. And then he slips back and he dies in his hospital gurney.
All right. Well, you have one die left. Why don't you tell one last scene? What happens to those songs?
They get mailed to Hans. And where's Hans live?
Well, they have to eventually, Hans, being dead, it's going to go to his family, his estate.
Or because his last mailing address was the band tour bus or some P.O. box, it just gets forwarded to Nikki.
All right, we'll take that.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe Nikki uses that music for the new act that she's put together. And as clearly the only good person in this story, gets to come out on top.
It's good. And now I get to actually manage a real rock band and not some children's rock band.
There we go.
All right, good fiasco, guys.
That was crazy.
Don't get involved in children's music, people. It's a dangerous world.
All right, with that, our story ends. We'll return again with a new tale to spin to dare to entertain. I was one of your players, playing Miss Lorna Saltine. I'm John Holt. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Joho.
And I'm Stacey Douglas Moverly, playing Nikki Roberts, and you can find me on Instagram at Stadomo, Stadomo.
This is Josh Mueller, who played the former Gunther Jorgenstern.
And I'm Roland Auer. I played Hans Krautrock, and you can find me in Brooklyn in the real world.
Hunt him down.
Sounds good.
To learn more about the players and the engine in our story, visit boardghost.com. You can attempt to pierce the veil and contact us at BoardGhostWorld on Twitter. Shout out through the ether if you have desires we can fulfill. Leave comments and reviews on iTunes or your preferred listening portal. And please take a moment to subscribe so you don't miss out on the latest episodes. We'd like to thank Pat Couples for our theme song and interlude music. You can find out more about Pat and his band at patcouples.tumblr.com or the band's website, hotelsandhighways.com. If you're not alone in the void, share our stories. The more they are consumed, the truer they become.
If living is a highway, then heaven is a bus stop. Been waiting for a minute there, or has it been forever? 'Cause dying don't agree with me, no. Dying don't agree with me.